Okay, so let's talk about tracking. Everyone loved tracking. So I want to actually apply my track down at the size of my reformat at the final output resolution. So remember when we tracked stuff before, we reformatted stuff, then we tracked it. Um, that's what we want to do here. You don't want to do this. If you were in class today, I just half asleep kind of grabbed this and did this, and tracker didn't stick right. So you need it down here. But what's nice is because you can see we actually do have a point to track on here. It's a little tricky to see in the original footage, but there's this little spot right here. It was a tracking marker, which is usually just pieces of like yellow or orange gaffer's tape that's on the screen. And it's super soft and blurry because it's out of focus. But there's enough data there that we can actually pull a key on it or track it. So you can see when we pulled our key, it's different. It's a very different color, so that's stayed behind, which is what we actually kind of want. So if we go look at our tracker, go to a good, like our first frame, we can do all of our tracky things. We just need one track because it's just this one point. There are a couple other trackers I'll show you in the shot, but you do not need to do multiple ones. This should be plenty. So all we need to worry about is just the default translate here because we don't have more than one to do rotation and scale. We don't have enough data to be able to do that. I'm going to go into the settings, auto tracking. I'm going to predict track. I don't need to change this because all I'm doing is translating, and then change it to every frame. So now it's such a simple solid black with this little thing on it. If I run it, for pretty much everybody in class, I think had this, it worked pretty well. You shouldn't have to fight with this. It's not going to be like other trackers where nothing seems to work. It's a consistent shape. It's real easy to pull a track on. If this went behind your guy's head, that would be a different story, but I know just from playing with this one, this is an easy track. So that's all you really got to worry about. All right, so done. So that looks good. It stayed nice and centered the whole time through. So now I want to scroll to the bottom and I want to set it to transform match move. Great. And then it spit out this little node. So if I now go look and apply this after the transform that's positioning my background how I want it, but before my crop, on the frame that you're on, it shouldn't look any different. But when this plays now, oh, please tell me I didn't break Nuke. I deleted my node graph. That's not great. There we go. Come on. It's getting mad at me. Okay, so now if I was to play this, the background should move in place where it should. It's going to get what we call parallax, where it's like stuff like this is parallax, where you can see like the table, this thing in the foreground, and you see the stuff in the background, and it's not perfect. It slips and slides, like it feels correct, but where you see things change, you see it's not on the same plane of existence. The stuff in the foreground moves more at camera than the stuff in the background, which is what you want. Like this, it moves, but it's not moving exactly like the guys in the front here. If I pulled a track on something like this here in the foreground, it would be a different track than what you would pull if you pulled one on that little tracking marker. You can still see it in the background. The way you can kind of know this worked well is if this tracker, that little fuzzy spot that we haven't cleaned up yet, if that basically sticks to whatever part of your background is next to it. So like see how it looks like it's glued to the wall right here? It's moving with everything. That's what we want. That means that's a rock solid track. We have everything we need here. So you have your footage, and it feels like it lives there. So one reason it doesn't quite feel like it lives there is because a very simple reason. It's not blurry. So if you look, anytime you have green screen footage or anything like this, look for clues around the footage. So I can see here the foreground stuff is out of focus. This stuff right here, this guy and this lamp are in focus, but then this guy in the background is already soft and blurry. So it had a really shallow depth of field. And I also know from looking at that tracking marker, that thing is mega blurry. So that tells me about how much blur, if you imagine this being like a crispy piece of tape, how out of focus that is. It helps kind of indicate about how blurry I need to make stuff. So if I was to apply some blur, that feels a little better to me. If I'm really being super nitpicky about this, like maybe I don't want my scale. Maybe I want it a lot bigger. So like definitely play around with this stuff. Move things around. Find your spots that you like things. Make it work for what you want it to do. So maybe I like this guy sitting. That looks bad. I don't like that. Maybe I like that. Sure. But now it's blurry, so now it will feel more like already you can see it feels more like it lives in this world because this is now out of focus. It's not what we're staring at. And I can kind of scrub through it and see everything sticks really, really nice. That's what we want. So the part I won't show you, that I will let you handle yourself, is I'll show you on a frame. Is if you now need to go do some cleanup, because if you look, we're seeing some stuff through those holes that were happening. It's not a huge deal, but you definitely want to go clean like these holes that are in here up, and you want to clean out these little tracking markers. They're real faint, but we can see them still. Like it's literally on top of the screen. So I want y'all to go get those out of there. So the way you're going to do that is with everyone's favorite, with some Roto. But they're going to be big, soft, what we call garbage masks, because they're sloppy. You're not trying to make them nice and neat. You're just going in and doing like this. And I want to actually be looking at my image so I can see what I need to cut out. So I know I need to get like this stuff down here, and I'm going to make another shape because I want to get stuff on this little tower over here. So I just want to make sure anywhere that I see these little black holes, I can fill them in. So you would go through for the entire shot and position this. So I know when I did this earlier, it maybe took me 4 frames of repositioning just to be sure. It shouldn't take a crazy ton of work. The ones that take a tiny bit more work, you want to make a new roto shape for this, are going to be the ones up here. The stuff we want to get rid of, not the stuff we're filling in. So like you got that guy. You also, if you're really like paying attention, you've got a couple more. So there's this guy. If you scrub through the footage, you can see, let me see if I can find it. There's another one kind of over here. I think it might even be that same one, I don't remember. But so you can kind of scrub through and see. You only see him for a handful of frames, but they do intersect with him. So you will want to, like, when you get stuff like this, make sure you actually take the time to go through. And for the most part, like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but kind of try to chop that out best you can. So let's say like this is my frame I want to cut out. Everything looks great. I'm super happy with all of this. Let's make sure these look good. Yeah, those do. They're pretty quick and easy. It should only take you a few minutes. But so then I need to apply these. So my one that is filling in these holes down here, I want to fill in the holes. So I'm going to hook that in below my footage. And if you look, it does what I want it to do automatically, which is great. But if I change this away and look at the image, it's also doing it everywhere. I don't want it everywhere. I just want to mess with my mask. I just want to mess with my alpha. So the way we do that is by going into your merge. We're going to change some settings. You can leave it as over if you want, but really all we're changing is these right here. We basically are saying what we're taking from the A channel, what we're applying to it, like what part of the B channel we're applying it to, and what the output's going to be. And it's real straightforward. All we need to basically say is all we want to mess with is the alpha of that RotoPaint shape. All we want to have it go on top of is the alpha of the B channel. But all we want to output is the alpha. So we're basically saying only mess with this alpha channel. That's all this is settings. These are saying it right here is doing. It's just this alpha, alpha, alpha. It's saying just mess with the alpha. Take this as alpha and look at this thing's alpha and just combine only the alpha channel. So you can see if I turn it on and off, that's what it's doing. It just is kind of filling in those holes. That's why we call it a garbage mask. Now for getting rid of these guys, you could do a merge and play with the settings. It would need something kind of like this. Like there's some other settings and steps that you would have to do. And honestly, I don't feel like you get as good of a result because sometimes it means you end up having to do a pre-molt to like and get it out of the alpha. But then to get rid of it here, you'd have to do a pre-molt, which can give you, every time you pre-molt something, you basically only ever want to do a pre-molt once if you ever have to. And in this project, you shouldn't have to, actually. But the problem with when you do multiple pre-molts is every time you do, even just look at the guy's hair here, even without anything else going on, if I just put a pre-molt, see how his hair gets chunky and eats in? I duplicate that, duplicate that, duplicate that, duplicate that. It just starts eating away at the edges, and the edges just look bad. So we try to not do that if we don't have to. But, so that means the way I like to get these out of here that's super clean and efficient and easy is just with a grade. Take your grade, hook the mask of the grade into that roto paint that we made of the little circles that we're trying to get rid of. So we basically want to get rid of it in this image as well as in the alpha. So we were going to change it to say mess with every channel, mess with all of them. And then if we just multiply that down, now they're gone. Easy enough. So take a minute when you're doing this and actually get this set up really well. One thing I'm still seeing a lot of y'all doing is you'll look at this then and you'll be like, but like everything is still here. Why is it still here? Grab your handle and move it down. As a habit, when I work, typically if I'm doing something like this, instinctually, I will just go ahead and move my merge down as I'm working, so I know I can look and see this diagonal line and go, wait, something's not, it's seeing this. It's not seeing any of this stuff. I literally have to just move that down. So just remember to do that. But if we have our stuff blurred, we have our stuff tracked, this is about as far as we got today with this stuff. The only other thing we did go over was how to isolate the pink light on this guy, which was confusing for a lot of people. So I'll do a separate next video where I go over just how to isolate a light on the guy.